Good morning and welcome to the new pilot episode of the KSPNtv Sports Center. My name is Aborio Godino. I have just graduated from Santa Paula High School and will now be going to Ventura College. I was part of the sports broadcasting crew for around 2 years. And now I plan to keep on being there and help the high school students who are going to be continuing to do that, to do that, to continue to do this program. It will now become a class at Santa Paula High School. So we're very excited to have that. And today for our first episode, we'll have now one of the lead announcers at the Conejo Oaks. His name is Ryan Milano. Ryan, I want to say hi.
Yeah, so I'm one of the lead announcers for the Conejo Oaks. I broadcast every single one of the games. There's been 4 games so far this season. I'm excited to talk a little bit about what we've seen so far to start out the season.
Yeah, start off the first game, I believe it was on Friday, 15-2 against the Ventura County Pirates. You want to talk about that game?
Well, yeah, so the first 3 games of the season, they were all non-league CCL games. So the first game against the Ventura County Pirates, they're actually not a CCL team. They came into George Sparky Anderson Field, faced off against Conejo. Then the following 2 games, it was a CCL opponent, the Walnut Creek Crawdads. They are a CCL North Division. So 3 non-league games to start the season. The first 3 games, they were tune-up games for the head coach, Dave Solis. Figure out what he had. All of these guys, they just got to campus. They just got together just a few days prior. The first day was on Tuesday. So that game was just 3 days after everyone met each other. Coach Solis hadn't even gotten to know a lot of the players, hadn't even gotten to know a lot of their skill sets. So it was working out a lot of the kinks in the first game. Coming out in game 1, it was a real pour on offensively for the Oaks, where they trotted out 5 different pitchers, were able to shut down Ventura County in short order. And then on the offensive side, the bats were absolutely going. George Sparky Anderson Field, there's a short porch in shallow right. Left-handed pull hitters, they fare very well. We've seen that throughout the start of the season. We particularly saw that in game 1 in that 15-2 victory.
Yeah, something I saw there was also there was a lot of runners in scoring position from Ventura County, but good job from the pitchers of Conejo Oaks. They didn't allow almost any of them. The only runs were actually from a 2-run homer, I believe. So very good job from them in the stretch, and finding their pitches. Now let's go on to the second game. It was a 9-5 against the Crawdads. You want to talk about that game?
Yeah, so that game against the Crawdads, it was a 2-game set against Walnut Creek. This was the first iteration, and while it was 9-5, while it did seem close as it got closer to the end, Conejo, they had control for a lot of the game. They had more hits. They had more runners in scoring position. Walnut Creek had timely hitting, and throughout the game with timely hitting, timely base running, and timely at-bats, Walnut Creek was able to claw their way back into the game. But Conejo, they got up early. They didn't trail throughout the entirety of the game. And despite it being a 4-run contest, it was all Conejo and all Brendan Bobo. Brendan Bobo, the first baseman for the Oaks, he had a 2-home run game in that game against Walnut Creek. He has been absolutely raking to start the season. 2 home runs. He really fares well. Like I mentioned, that short porch and shallow right. He's a powered left-handed hitter. He knows how to go deep in this ballpark.
Yeah, Brendan Bobo out of Cal State Fullerton, a very good ball player. Then we go on to the 8-7 versus Crawdads. Unfortunately, I didn't get to watch that game, so you have more detail on that one.
Yeah, so that game, it was similarly Conejo throughout. It sort of felt like they were in control. They got timely hitting, but each time Walnut Creek actually took the lead. Walnut Creek took a 1-0 lead early. The Oaks, they bounced back in the bottom of the frame, took a 2-1 lead. Then Walnut Creek took in the 4th inning a 3-2 lead. Right in the bottom half of the inning, Conejo tied it right back up. Then the Walnut Creek Crawdads, they had a very strong inning in the 6th. They saw 4 runs plate across. They really took advantage of a lot of walks throughout the game. There was a pitcher for the Oaks who was brought into the game, who it was his first appearance with Conejo, his first appearance in over a year in just live baseball because the season was due to the COVID pandemic. It was his first appearance. He came into the game. He ended up walking a few batters, walked in a run. 4 runs were scored in the frame. The Oaks, they fell down 7-4. Bottom half of the inning, they ended up putting up a 5 spot, taking the lead. And then throughout the rest of the game, no one was able to score. Hunter Call, the center fielder, and TJ Foreman, the right fielder, they were the 2 stars of the game. Both of them timely hitting and timely base running, put a lot of pressure on the opposing defense on the base paths. Hunter Call, he ended up stealing home in one of these innings. He ended up with a triple in another one, stealing a few bags. Hunter Call was the player of the game. TJ Foreman as well also stole a lot of bags, put a lot of pressure on the defense, and the 2 outfield duos, that was what brought the Oaks ahead. That is what propelled them past Walnut Creek in that second iteration in a very narrow 8-7 ball game, and it was a closeout pitching performance. A very great job by the closer in that game, not giving up a run in the final 3 frames, shutting down Walnut Creek.
Yeah, that was their, I believe, their last game that wasn't considered, I guess, a league game, right?
That was their last non-league game. So their first league game was yesterday.
Yeah.
They played against Santa Barbara and the Foresters. So that one they ended up dropping. It was their first loss of the season and their first loss in league play. Santa Barbara is notoriously one of the best teams year in and year out in the CCL, and they absolutely showed it. They had some real D1 prospects, a lot of pitchers on the hill that we saw from Oklahoma, from Texas A&M. We saw SEC talent. We saw scouts at the game. They were scouting against the Foresters. What we did see is a big-time inning for Santa Barbara in the third. They put up a 7 spot in the third. They ran through 3 pitchers in that inning for Conejo. So they ended up putting up that 7 spot after that third frame. The Oaks, they actually led 1-0 if you take it from the 4th inning on, but it just was not enough to come back from the deficit that they were down with in that third.
Yeah, very good job from the pitchers after that 3rd inning, as you said. After that, they didn't allow a single run. We've talked about Brandon Bobo. We've talked about the outfielders. Any other names you want us to keep an eye out for these games?
Yeah, so the player of the game in the last game, he was Tobias Plotkin. He was one of the pitchers out of the pen. He came in and shut down Santa Barbara. Came in 3 1/3 innings, came in a jam with runners on base, struck out 5 through 3 1/3. Very strong outing from him. What we also see is a middle infield tandem, and they have been bouncing all around the infield, second, short, third base, different positions. We've seen JT Naviak and we've seen Grant Smith. They have been raking the ball in the middle of the order. They have been very strong defensively in the middle of the infield. And Robert Capozzi, he struggled a little bit to start the season. This last game against Santa Barbara, he got on, I believe, 4 times. He got a timely single. He got a few walks. Robert Capozzi, he played incredibly well in the last game. So that is who to watch out for the Oaks, starting to get their bats going, headed into CCL play at the right time.
Yeah, and I believe today is their first away game, right? I'm not sure who it is against. But
first away game against the Academy Barons, traveling down in Compton to play against the Academy Barons. That game is going to be around 6 o'clock.
So obviously rooting for the Conejo Oaks that game, to win that game, and to win most of their games this year. We're hoping for a good season for them. I'd like to thank you, Ryan Milano, for being in this show. This was our first show, and we're hoping to have plenty more. We will obviously want to have you for future ones. And I think that covers all for today. We hope you enjoyed the show. My name is Laborio Godino, and I believe we are out.
Hold on.